we've talked about the purpose and audience of an academic essay and how to figure those out based on the prompt. That is how to explicate the prompt and break it down into smaller questions, the implicit questions that are kind of hidden in a prompt, and then the big question that puts all those smaller ones together. So this was our notes from that. I think everybody has this in their class notebook at this point. So if you need to review that process, feel free to do that. And usually the audience will be your teachers. But now we're going to move on to content. That's the C in the PACOW acronym. So if I'm looking at this, which should be in your class notebook as well, there are a couple headers that we're going to talk about and you're going to fill in. So you need to make sure that you are taking notes. The nice thing about a recording is that you can pause me at any point in time and you can rewind if you need to, if you didn't get something or understand it. But the important thing to remember is that you are to put this in your own words. You do not want to put what I type or what I say word for word. You want to make sure it makes sense to you. That's the most important thing about note taking. Okay, so content, when I talk about content in academic essays, I'm talking about what do I need to answer the question? What kind of facts or evidence do I need to help answer the question? So the first thing I need to do is to brainstorm. No, that's a topic that you have probably learned about multiple times. But the purpose of brainstorming is to get all of the ideas out of my head and into a space where I can look at them and organize them. So that can be done by hand on a piece of paper. It can also be done on a device like this in your notes app, or in this case, it's going to be in our class notebook. So brainstorming, the purpose of brainstorming is... Oh, I do not care for that. Okay. Brainstorming, the purpose of brainstorming is to get all of the ideas out so I can see them and not forget about other ones, to have all of them in front of me. Okay. So that helps me to organize them and get them all lined up to develop a thesis. Now, a thesis statement, for those of you who don't know, which you should all have heard that term many times over the past several years, a thesis statement is going to be the single statement. I'm going to put that right here for you. So this is a single statement. Oh, nope. I'm actually going to put it down here. So it's a single sentence, okay, that answers the prompt. Okay. Whoop, maybe if I could type. Okay, so it's a single statement or sentence that answers the prompt. Usually, it answers what I call the big six, which are the questions that help guide my brainstorming. Okay, so I'm going to repeat that because I want you to make sure that you have that in your notes, because I'm not going to write it in mine. I want you to have it in yours, though. The big six are the big six questions that help to guide my brainstorming. Okay, and those are the who or what, the does what, which is a verb, the when, the where, the why, and the how. Okay? It does. Now, let me be clear on a thesis statement. It does not have to have all of the big six, because sometimes the when and the where are pretty similar, so you don't need to have separate answers for those. But it should have the who or what, does what, when and or where, why, and how. Okay? So, and also, we are using what's called a three-dimensional thesis statement, or 3D. Okay, and what that means is one of those questions above is going to have 3 answers. One of the big 6 will have 3 answers. So that means I may have 3 who or whats. I may have 3 verbs, 3 things that are happening in that sentence. I might have 3 whens, like 3 different times. I might have 3 different places. I might have 3 whys, and I might have 3 hows. Okay? So 3-dimensional means one of the big 6 so that means there is a list. Okay, so that means there should be a specific list in the 3, that there are 3 things in my thesis statement. Now, the reason why that's important is because that's going to help me organize, which is the next step in the writing process, because we have purpose, audience, content, and then organization comes after that. So that's one of the reasons why that's really important. Okay. So what you see here, and you're probably thinking I'm a little nuts because I have a, what looks like a math equation. So the reason I have that is because those big 6 questions actually turn into a thesis statement. Okay, so I do the who or what. That turns into the subject. And you'll notice those 2 are longer. And the reason they're longer is because they're often the longest part of the sentence. Like the who or the what is usually 1 or 2 words. Does what is usually 1 or 2 words. When, where, those are short phrases. But the why and the how are usually a little bit more complicated. So that's why I have longer spaces there. Okay. So that means that sentence, that whole sentence, is like that whole thing I just put together would be one sentence. Hoping that's making sense. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the purpose and audience one. So this was my sample prompt. Okay. That I went over with you guys. I don't know why that's looking so weird right now, but I am trying to copy and paste so I don't have to hop back and forth between those pages. Okay. So if this was my breaking down of the implicit and explicit questions for that prompt, I would use these to help guide my brainstorming. Okay, so what is technology? I would start breaking that down into answering that question, like just giving a bulleted list. I wouldn't do sentences. I might do technology can be the devices like laptops, phones, tablets, etc. It might be the applications. Okay. It might be the systems in place. Networks, I think, is another term for that. So this is me starting my brainstorming process to answer that question. Okay, so that's the first thing that you're going to do. I'm not going to go through that whole shebang with you right now because I want you to do that with the implicit and explicit questions that you did for your prompt. You're going to pick one of the ones that you did because we had a lot of you do 2 prompts to practice breaking those down. I am going to create a separate video that will actually give you the whole brainstorming process for the sample prompt, and I will, you'll be able to watch it after this, but I don't want this video to become too long. So the important part right now is that you are going to go through and brainstorm for the main idea and thesis, and thesis, and then the next video will show you how to turn all of that into an actual thesis statement.